Right. Welcome back to the Highly Productive podcast. Like promised, I have a bunch of really cool guests, and we're starting with none other than Katie Mattox from Spherex.
Hello.
I'm sure most of you guys already know her. She rarely needs an introduction, to be honest with you, but she's just been crushing it out here in Colorado for quite some time. And I felt it was a good time to go ahead and learn a little bit more about her, kind of where she came from, what got her here in the market, and kind of where she's going and where the brands are headed as well in 25, 26 and beyond.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So real quickly, how I met Katie is obviously, a lot of you guys know, I'm a dad. I enjoy going out anytime I'm invited. And Spherex X-Fakes was very gracious with their invites to a bunch of cool events. I mean, skating events were certainly one of my favorites. I love to skate. But the go-kart event was really cool too. And obviously I saw Katie out there doing her thing and bringing a bunch of really cool brands together. And ultimately building a community. So, like I said, I thought it would be a great time to learn a little bit more about Katie and who she is, and again, and what she's bringing to the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So next, we wanted to, like I said, I wanted to talk to Katie a little bit more about where you came from. So not from Colorado, right?
No, I actually am.
Oh.
I'm a native. Yeah.
Colorado native.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why I was thinking you were from out of state. You grew up here. Did you have siblings?
Yes, I have a little sister. We grew up just outside of Boulder.
Does she still live here?
No, she lives in Arizona now.
That's why. I think that's why I was like, she has to be from elsewhere. But
No, I'm a native.
makes sense. Were you guys into sports growing up?
Oh yeah, all the time. Yep.
Speaking of sports, I mean,
Yes.
I obviously realized how athletic and natural you were at football, but it was very clear in volleyball last year that you had experience with volleyball.
Yes. Yeah. So I actually started out as a gymnast. I was a gymnast for like 12 years, which I think is partially where a lot of my discipline comes from and athleticism. But yeah, I was a gymnast for 12 years. Then I got too tall to be a gymnast and kept getting hurt. So then I transitioned over to volleyball and track is kind of where I finished off.
Both of my boys started with gymnastics too. I mean, credit to my wife, she kind of brought it up, but it's a good base for most of your sports.
So good. Oh yeah, I was the buffest little kid in all my classes.
Well, and flexibility too. I mean, luckily I kind of drug you out of retirement for volleyball, but I know you had some kind of lingering injuries, but couldn't notice on the court. I thought you did a great job.
Thank you.
But I wanted to ask you a little bit more about how you got to Colorado, or how you got to be in the Colorado cannabis market specifically.
Yes. Yeah, my story is actually very kind of all over the place. So I actually was pre-med in college, wanted to go into the medical field because my mom was a pharmaceutical sales rep. And my parents just thought I could make a lot of money in that role since I was really bubbly and had that bubbly personality. So I went, studied pre-med integrative physiology at CU Boulder. About my junior year, I definitely realized that it was not my passion, but I was a little too far in to kind of pivot at that point. So I stuck it out, got my degree in integrative physiology, then tried to go into the medical field because that's where my experience was. And went into the medical field and quickly realized it was not for me. But that's okay. After that, I kind of pivoted and tried to go into finance. I was in finance for a few years. And then while working that job, realized I wanted to do more creative work. So because my parents always wanted me to be a doctor or go in the medical field, I never really got to explore my creative side. So I didn't really take many art classes
Which is cool now knowing Katie, because literally the creative queen, that's what I know her from, is just creative events and designs, collaborations, all of that.
Oh yeah, no, once I got in there and realized that and started exploring that side, because I think I had never had the opportunity or, because before school was always academic, science, math, AP courses. So I never really got to take any fun art classes or explore that side. So once I did, I became extremely passionate about it. So I quit working in finance and actually opened my own business, making and selling art. And I did that at all kinds of events. So Big Wonderful, festivals, Boulder and Longmont farmers markets every week. And that's kind of where I got to explore events and just making art. That's also when I got really into social media because I was running the social media for my brand. And just kind of wearing all the hats.
It connects so many dots for me because I follow a lot of people that make art and do a lot of art events and stuff, and I realized that you're connected with them too. So like I said, I'm glad that we made the time to learn more about you because up until this point it was there was a lot of gray area, I guess you could say. So that's
so
really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, so that's where I got my initial event experience, initial social media experience. And it was all kind of happening at the same time. Around that same time, I started doing event work for a lot of alcohol brands. So I did a ton of Fireball promos, Tuwaka. I was a contractor for an event agency about 10 years ago. So, and that was just supplemental income I was doing in addition to my business, just to kind of fill in all the gaps. But I got to work with a lot of big brands with big budgets, see their marketing strategies and how they approach customers, how they want to be perceived in the market, and kind of got tons of experience working for some big brands in alcohol. And then around that time, the agency got brought on with a few cannabis brands. So I did a few cannabis promos, just pop-ups and dispensaries, posted about it on my Instagram, and was recruited into the cannabis industry from there.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome, and that's honestly one of the reasons why I like doing this show too, is to see like people from way different backgrounds and honestly with different experiences and skill sets that they bring into the cannabis industry, and applying it clearly with the community and the marketing that you guys do. That's it's more organically. I don't know. It feels like the community building element to it has really helped distinguish you guys in the market these days. It's clear kind of where that's coming from.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we started the events kind of internally with our team. So at Spherex, because we have offices kind of all over. Our lab was separate from our sales and marketing office, which was separate from our executive office. So once a month or every few months, we would have team outings, and where the team would just get together and do a fun activity and a little mini event. And we just always had the best time. And so I picked up on that. I was like, we have such a great team with great people, and just bringing everyone together for a fun night of just on the company went a long way for us. So I was like, if we can extend that program for people, our clients, bud tenders, shoppers, even, I was like, I think that would be successful, and it has.
It's proven to be, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's funny you say that. I mean, I had a little taste of wholesale years ago when it was early. I mean, probably 2015 maybe. And that was one of the first things that I kind of thought about. I was like, hey, we need to. There's a lot of the kind of gatekeepers there, especially on the wholesale side. It's tough to get to the people that ultimately make the decision. And
absolutely.
Ultimately, that's what led me to believe that doing events and stuff like that really has some value. But like you said, working with another company, Native Roots here in Colorado, they did that once a year was the plan, or once every quarter rather.
Yeah.
But you really had to make sure you planned that out and made sure that it happened.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's proven to be really valuable for, the staff, for the customers. I mean, obviously the staff being happy certainly is apparent for the customers.
Yeah. And I think what I've noticed when it comes to strategy is, from a sales perspective, you're mostly focusing on the purchasing managers, right? Like that's the person placing the orders, communicating with you, and that's really important to a lot of teams. But I've always had the perspective that the cadence at which a purchasing manager orders is determined by how fast the product is being sold to the consumers. So I feel like I've noticed some blinders around that where people are focusing on managers, where I've always focused on the consumer because they set the pace at which the purchasing manager orders.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately the market is going to speak for itself, and clearly I work for, Rebel Edibles has made it really easy on me because the customers ask about it a lot, and sort of the bartenders. But much like you said, that's kind of where it starts, having the customers, the bartenders, and everybody just kind of talking about the product and how much they enjoy it. It's almost like it's the right thing to do at that point.
Yep. No, I always think about the pillars of the purchasing manager, the bud tenders, and then the shoppers. So, and we're always working on all three of those at all times to make sure that one, they like the product, we're at the top of their mind when they go to sell it or buy it, and what that looks like at each stage of the buying journey.
Yeah, you guys have done a great job here in Colorado. Speaking of which, in terms of Colorado, other states, have you guys, I don't want you to divulge any too much information, but obviously I think Spherex and X-Vapes would be great in other states as well.
Yes, so we've tried in other states. We were in Oklahoma back in 2019, 2020, and then we were actually in Canada for a few years. But I think personally, we've just decided to focus on the Colorado market, maximize sales as much as we can. I know it's always a topic that's on the table, but it's one of those things that we'll cross that bridge when we get there, and I haven't really heard many updates on that recently.
That makes sense for sure.
Yeah.
Obviously you guys have been in the cartridge game for a while, but they've also recently got into edibles as well with their mushroom sleep gummies.
Yes.
Which rave reviews, of course. I use them myself.
I love that. Yeah.
They're nice. Like I was telling one of the girls on Instagram, I don't use sleep gummies all that much. But I happen to, with sports coming up and stuff, you need your rest. So I went ahead and tried one or two of those, and certainly helped get some much needed rest that night.
Yes. Sure. Yeah. So we did research and development on that product for over 1.5 years. Obviously, the edible market is extremely competitive. There are a bunch of really big, powerful players in that area that we knew we would be coming up against. So we wanted to do something to differentiate us, which was using functional mushrooms. Our CRO is actually really involved in the mushroom community and does a lot of work there. So we piggybacked off of his leadership there. But yeah, the response has been really good. And we did a small launch, waited for the demand and feedback, and have pivoted and adjusted. So
well, and along with the product, the reviews itself, one thing that Spherex always does a great job too is the packaging, which being in retail so long, it makes such a big difference. The new all-in-one Spherex carts or disposables rather. They're just distinguished, recognizable, and people learn to love them. But obviously the packaging is cute. And, visually appealing.
Yep. So actually, when I started at Spherex 5.5 years ago, our package, I don't know if you remember that packaging. It was all black.
I do.
Yeah.
That's when I first started selling at Silver Stem, when they were just the PAX pods. I think the only thing that we had from Spherex, and maybe the dablicators, syringes.
Yep. Yeah. So the packaging was always black, and I started out as a field marketing rep, going into stores and checking on inventory, making sure that the stores had what they needed. And I would walk in and try to find our product on the slat walls, which are also black. And I was having the hardest time finding it. And I was like, if I work for this company and I'm looking for it and I can't find it, I can't imagine what makes us stand out to someone who's never heard of us. So the colorful packaging and colorful branding was something I worked on for years and years and years. Even just to get approval was a big challenge. But I knew that, I always have loud, boisterous marketing and design. That's kind of my thing.
Respected.
Yeah.
That's what's helped you get to this point, I think, is just kind of, be not going over the top necessarily, but like you said, tapping into things that people are excited about, whether it's an MMA fight, or a fashion gala, or, a number of things. It's just, she's able to kind of tap into that community, if you will, and just kind of add some flavor and add some value to it, which has been really cool.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing there is just really knowing your shopper. So we have two different brands, Spherex and X-Vapes, and they're two totally different shoppers. One, X-Vapes is part of the value category, so they're gonna have different priorities and needs versus Spherex, which is a little bit more expensive, a little bit more high-end. So they're two totally separate shoppers. Whereas like the X-Vape shopper cares about price. They're trying to maximize the number of products they can buy within their budget. Whereas the Spherex shopper may not go into the store with a budget, but they're there to shop for the experience, the quality, the branding, how a product appeals to them. So I definitely think about that when we're designing and when we're creating campaigns, like who are we speaking to and what is important to them and how can we make this product the perfect product for them.
Yeah, and obviously you have a number of different products. I mean, whether it's cartridges or the all-in-ones, and clearly edibles now too, to do exactly just that. And I did want to ask you a few things in terms of the events that you've done without, I don't want you to make anybody mad, but what event has been your favorite or your favorite two so far that you've done?
That we've hosted?
Yeah, that you've hosted, that you kind of personally curated, if you will.
Yeah. So I definitely want to play homage to our Skate with Spherex events. I think that's what kind of put us on the map in terms of community events, which I think we just got really lucky at the timing of those because that was right when the MED was kind of coming down on consumption lounges. So the community went from having these consumption events fairly frequently, and then the MED kind of came in and put an end to those. So there was this gap in the community without events. And right at that time, I never really felt comfortable hosting a consumption event just due to the compliance. So we decided to host a retro skate party at the skating rink I actually went to when I was a little kid, Skate City up in Westminster. And we just won't make it cannabis focused. We'll have cannabis, we'll have our merch there, we'll have marketing materials, but it'll just kind of be a throwback, a normal event where people can drink and eat and have a good time.
Which, I mean, like you said, coming out of COVID, I think a lot of people were still kind of not doing a lot of things, and they were looking for things to do.
Oh, absolutely.
That was certainly me as a new dad at that point, having to really kind of bottle those kids up during COVID, which is crazy. But that's certainly what was enamoring for me to come out to those events.
Oh, absolutely. And we always think, like I said, I always have the shopper in mind, so what are their pain points, which at that time, inflation was an issue, grocery and gas prices were going up. So we were like, I think if we throw an event where people can have a fun activity, community, a free event where they get fed, they get some drinks, they get some merch, they get to meet people in this space, I think that would have a lot of value to them. And it was way more successful than we even ever imagined. And the events grew from there. So those are one of my favorite events, but I think my all-time favorite event was the Icelandic sponsorship at Red Rocks that we just did up in March. That one checked a few boxes for me off my bucket list for sure. Obviously going to Red Rocks since I was a little kid. So that was really, really exciting. That was my favorite event.
I enjoyed being at that one too, because you look out to the crowd and there's just pink and neon X-Vapes beanies everywhere. And glow sticks, they just crushed it.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out how to maximize branding at that event. So we really went above and beyond. We were like, it's an expensive sponsorship, but it's also a big opportunity.
Let's make it worth it.
Yeah. So one thing I've been comparing internally with my team is, a skate party. Our biggest skate party we had was last summer, and we had, I want to say like 750 people at Real Works, which was great. But we planned that event from scratch. It was a lot of work. And a lot of those 750 people are already familiar with our products, familiar with our community, whereas Icelandic was a much larger event. But we touched about 4,000 people in 3.5 hours. And a lot of those people, some people had heard of us, some had never heard of us, some know us now. So just kind of comparing those touch points and seeing prioritizing what's important to us at this stage in our marketing journey.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, that's certainly cool considering where you guys are at in the market right now too. Like, people will see your product at Red Rocks, and most places they can get Spherex or X Vapes. So I mean, they're already, connecting the dots in terms of what they want to try out. I think it was obviously a great job there, and you said something about, the MED and how they were coming down on consumption lounges and stuff. It reminds me of my next question. What do you think is the biggest obstacle of working in the cannabis industry, or even marketing in the cannabis industry?
Oh, compliance, always. Compliance is always, especially in marketing, because you're trying to get the word out, but the laws are set up so that it's very restricted. I mean, age gating is always concern number one, making sure that you're marketing to people who are 21 and over.
That's right.
Yeah, which, how do you work within those boundaries? We have a lot of limitations on social media, a lot of limitations on email, which has been lifting a little bit. So we're always kind of operating. We have a small area to operate in, but that's why I always try to maximize our marketing within those areas. And then as I've progressed, I've been in the industry for almost 9 years now. So as I've progressed, I've been able to find the loopholes, the workarounds where there have been, and Icelandic is an example of that, where the city came to us twice, 2 years in a row, and said, you cannot do this because you're a cannabis brand. And then we were able to work around that and find a way to make it work for us, where the city was like, okay, you can sponsor now, but where we couldn't before. So definitely going on the offense there. Knowing the regulations is really important. That's something I'm always looking at the code. I'm always doing my research there. Just so that if the MED ever did come to us, I would know the compliance, I would know the laws.
Yeah, all your ducks in a row in case.
Yeah. And as you get a bigger brand, as you become a bigger brand, you have more targets on your back. So that's something that we're always.
Oh yeah, you get those Karens in the industry sometimes, like, oh yeah, I think Spherex is doing.
Yeah. So
competition is crazy.
Yeah, it's very competitive, but that's why I'm always thinking of the best. You plan for the worst, but expect the best is always my motto. So we always have backup plans. I always think of the worst possible situation and then plan for the best. So it's been working out pretty well.
Oh yeah, you've been doing a great job. And to come off of the negatives, we can go to the positives. What would you say is your favorite thing about working in the industry?
I just like being creative. It's almost that same, like, the biggest challenge is also the biggest opportunity. So while we do have a lot of restrictions, it has forced me to think not only creatively in the design, but creatively in strategy as well. And I think that's where we've positioned ourselves as a leader in the industry of I always kind of think of it as like a pyramid. You lay your foundation layer and then you grow, and then you lay another layer and you grow, and you learn new strategies and new pathways open up each layer of that pyramid. Whereas our events kind of stemmed from a scavenger hunt concept that we had laid out, where we're like, I think the community is craving a little bit of events being fed. We noticed that need while doing a very small Instagram scavenger hunt, and that led to our events. Whereas events were never really a part of the initial strategy.
Oh, and good on you guys, because I was talking about that in the previous episode of the show. Some brands are learning to adapt and listening to the market, and some are kind of stepping their ways.
Yeah, innovating is key, and being flexible. Ask anyone on my team. Flexibility and reliability are my two most important things. Like, we need to be able to switch on a dime and not hold on to what didn't work. You adjust, you move forward, and you move on. And I think that's been really advantageous for us. And I really pride my team in our ability to be flexible and just kind of let go of what's not working and not even think about it, just move on.
Yeah. That seems to be a pretty common occurrence between people who have, achieved a lot in their life, is that they failed a lot in life. They don't just harp on it, they don't get wrapped around that, they just learn and move on.
Yeah.
It's, again, shouts to you guys, you and your team. Y'all obviously been doing a great job this year. And the last, 9 years in the market?
Yeah.
That's we've been about the same time here in the industry. I started
nice.
retail, and I've just enjoyed every element of it. But I just had one question before
Sure.
I can open it up to anything else that you wanted to say. But how many touchdowns are you gonna score this year? This girl, she scored probably, I don't know, at least 5 touchdowns, just right underneath last year in co-ed flag football. But this year we have 3 teams, and she's on one of them, one of the star players on one of them.
Thank you. I know people don't expect me to play football. That's kind of funny.
Like Katie from Weed Maps is like, Katie's playing? Oh yeah, I'm out there. Sure. I gotta be on her team. I'm like, you got it.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna shoot for 1 per game.
1 per game?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah. No one ever expects the girl to do the touchdown. I think that's where we leaned into last year. So.
And we're gonna dial in our defense a little bit this year too. Last year we were a little bit off on communication, but we grew together. Much in volleyball, we grew together as the season went along, and I don't anticipate this season being any different.
Yeah, no, highlight of my year for sure is the flag football.
It'll be fun this year. If you guys are out and about, we play Wednesday nights at Infinity Park here in Denver area. Come out and chop it up with us. If you're listening to the show, bud tenders. If you have a Colorado med badge, you're still free to play, free to get involved. It's only going to grow from here. So come out, check it out, vibe with us. Spherex packs. There's going to be several teams in attendance there. But a lot of us, people in the industry, some owners and operators out there playing with us too. So, get out here and chop it up with us and have a good time. Like Katie says, she's enjoyed it, and I know I certainly have as an old dad myself. It's really my only reason to stay in shape these days.
Yeah. It's so fun. I love it. It's so fun.
Katie, I really appreciate you, and it's clear why we had you on the show because I think you kind of fit the bill as a highly productive person.
Yeah.
I love to learn more about where they came from and how they think, and ultimately how they continue to make changes, influence things.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
You've done a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, we try to think creatively. Someone the other day asked me, they're like, "Who do you model your marketing efforts after?" And I was like, I think I pick up inspiration from a lot of different places, but we always try to make it our own, and you never know where you're going to get inspiration from.
Yeah, and it seems like, you can customize it too depending on the brand, because like you said, the products, they do fit the customers in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great job. Well, that about wraps it up for the Highly Productive podcast. My girl Katie, you guys don't know her. But until next time, we'll keep it going here, and if you guys want to see Katie on the show again, I'm sure we'll have her back on after we win this championship this year. But you guys go check out X Vapes and Spherex if you haven't in the market. They're 2 of the brands that she represents, and I'd be lying if I told you they weren't maybe the best cart brand in Colorado right now. Both of them.
Thanks. We try.
Thank you very much, Katie.
Bye.